Hello, YouTube. So we're coming back with a new edition. So we've got Richard today, obviously me and Dylan. We're passing the mic around as well, which is a new edition. So we could say the mic's a new edition. But anyway, so get straight into it. So we're going to be going through today the 5 reasons why all of us think people fall off the diet, we'll say, yeah, or restriction period, or whatever you want to call it. So we'll kind of kick straight off with number one. So I've actually just got them wrote down here as bullet points. Yeah, we're weekend social circle. So I'll hand it over to Dylan and give you Dylan's opinion on a weekend social circle.
So, in my opinion, I think it's very easy, especially in Western societies like the UK or USA, like where majority of people who probably listen to this are from, that we associate a lot of our socials around food and drink. The weekends are to do with takeaways after work. They're to do with going to the pub, and we're not saying that you can't enjoy these things, but if you want to get in shape and you want to get lean, you have to restrict these things for a period of time. So sometimes it's difficult to be able to say no to the people who will go into these socials for a select period of time. And a diet, realistically, depending on your starting position, I'd say average should only last somewhere between 12 to 16 weeks to get real, genuine results. You can say no for that period of time if you really want to. It's just your ability to make that sacrifice. So weekend socials, in my opinion, they can be managed, but you do have to have that level of discipline to say no for a period of time and not fall into the trap of getting to the end of the week, having a takeaway, then having a really bad breakfast, then just drinking and going to the pub, etc. It's managing your calories around that and being just as disciplined Monday to Friday as you are Friday to Sunday.
It's one of them though as well, isn't it? Like with your weekend social circle, you've got to set boundaries for yourself.
Yeah.
So and for the to let the people around you know where your boundaries are. Like we speak about this a lot that your actions have got to align with what you want to achieve. And if you're just going out at weekend and you're being good all week, we'll say in quotation marks, and then at weekend you just kind of completely fallen off track, then 9 times out of 10, yeah, we'll say 9 times out of 10, it's your social influence will be influencing you to take them actions. But it is still your job to take responsibility and ownership of your situation. So you can't just go and blame your friends or your social circle or your partner or your children or whoever for you not taking the actions that you need to take. You've got to actually set boundaries and realize that you respect yourself enough and your goals enough to say no to them type of people. Because otherwise you'll just continue in the same trap and you'll just literally be in the vicious cycle of being good all week and then being shit at weekend, basically. So yeah. Your thoughts?
Yeah, cheers and hello everyone. I think there's 2 points that I want to kind of make. And with your social circle, if they're your genuine friends and you've got this goal that you want to achieve and you want to lose weight and get in shape, and they're constantly trying to get you off track, make you, maybe drink when you don't want to drink, you've actually got to think, are these the people I maybe really want to be associating a lot with? I think a part of being old, getting older is at times being a bit more worried about who you want to socialize with, who your real friendship groups are. I'm very fortunate that I'm in a social group who, yeah, have come from a sporting background, so understand what it means to be healthy, and that they're good enough friends that when I've obviously done my prep recently, they're understanding that I probably can't go out as much over a certain period of time, but that won't last forever. They know I'll be out again, to see them. And like I said, it's about maybe making plans to go for walks, maybe playing sport together, whatever it might be. Doesn't all your social time with friends who are genuine friends doesn't always have to revolve around drink and alcohol. And then the other point is, Dylan mentioned there how many about, let's say, 12 weeks if you're dieting for, that is a real short amount of time in a lifetime. For example, if you're willing to have some sacrifice for that short period of your life to achieve your goals, I think it's well worth it. And then kind of think, if your favorite meal is an Indian or a Chinese, whatever it might be, if you are sticking to your diet consistently for that 12 weeks, think about how amazing that actual off-plan meal will be when you have it. Trust me, it'll taste so much better and you'll enjoy the actual social aspects of it so much more.
With that though, with about that off-plan meal, where you do enjoy it so much more, but you actually in the next breath think,
Yeah.
well, it wasn't actually as good as I thought it was going to be as well. Do you not agree? Like that's what I think anyway. Like there's a couple bits where you're like I'm a bit more of a sweet tooth when I've been dieting, if I'm honest. So like I get, but like me and Beth, we had like a fucking freezer full of we'll call them goodies, yeah, like brownies and everything. We was like hoarding shit, um, and maybe slightly disordered to be honest. But no, I'm just kidding. But like I just feel like whenever I've dieted and restricted, then I've had a meal out. I'm like, yeah, it was nice, but it wasn't all I cracked it up in my head
Yeah.
type thing. Anyway, right, we'll move straight on. So we've got lack of knowledge. The next one. So another reason people fall off is because they're just not educated enough around calories, around macros, around habits, even. Yeah, where if I'm completely honest, the amount of frigging information that's out there these days, everybody should probably be more educated around calories, macros, etc. I think where the lack of knowledge comes in is the lack of ability to consistently apply that. Yeah. So we could probably say lack of education, but lack of ability to apply the education. Yeah. And maybe a education overload that's causing a lack of trust and not knowing which person to follow, which advice is the best, etc., etc. So yeah, that's like lack of knowledge is probably a reason in my opinion, but maybe not the main one because I think that there's too much information out there these days. It's just sieving through the people who talk a little bit of crap and just the basics of the best is what I will end with.
Yeah, in my opinion, I think it's lack of knowledge of how difficult it's actually going to be as well. I'm not saying it's going to be really hard, but a lot of people go into it thinking it's going to be a quick fix. Like Nate said, there's loads of misinformation on the internet. You're probably getting sold the dream by 90% of coaches that pop up on your Instagram feeds or YouTube feeds or whatever. And it's not going to be that easy to get the results that you're trying to get. If you're trying to lose body fat, there has to be periods of restriction. There's going to be times where you feel hungry. Funnily enough, you do feel hungry when you diet. That is part of it. And you do need to go through this period of being more, maybe not antisocial, but more restrictive, like I've just said, to get the results that you want to.
So next one is lack of structure and accountability. So you know what? I'll let Richard explain this one.
Yeah, so I think gonna go to the accountability one first. So I think having a coach is really crucial where you're checking in on a weekly basis. So somebody's actually managing what you're doing. And from my point of view, when I first started to be coached, when there was that temptation there to, oh, I'll have that chocolate bar, I actually didn't want to let my coach down. So it kind of like made me make that less emotional decision to not pick up that chocolate bar and stay on plan. And then the structure is absolutely crucial. So the structure of actually when to meal prep, could be the times of when you do meal prep, when you eat your meals, I think is really important. I think for me, a real good tip is when you're actually dieting, is to push food down, is to push your food back a little bit. So, for example, on my meal prep, got down to like 2,000 calories, is to maybe not eat until about 11 o'clock. Have a food window from about 11 till 7 of when you're eating your meals. And yeah, you're going to be hungry on a diet. Yeah, that's something you've got to get used to. But in my opinion, that's just a little top tip there to, of ways to structure your meals that can just help you with that hunger and maybe those cravings to eat on a diet.
I mean, with the structure side of things as well, just to add, like it's even just somebody actually giving you structure with your calories and your training, as simple as that, which helps. Like we all have coaches, all three of us. The reason being is that I manage a lot of we all manage a lot of clients. So the person who comes last on the list is always us.
Yeah.
So it's like if we don't have a coach and we don't have that accountability, we don't get given that structure to follow, then we're probably not gonna stay on track, so to speak. So next one is probably the most important one, in my opinion. This is the one that everybody falls off with. and it's that they've not got an ability to regulate their emotions in stressful periods. So you think about whenever you've overate, or whenever you've fell off track, or whenever you've spoke shit to someone who you didn't want to speak like shit to, whenever you've made a comment, or whenever you've done something that maybe you didn't want to do, as simple as that. Think back to that time, because you'll everyone who's listening to this will all have this one period in their life. I can think of multiple with mine, and just think about: did you make an emotional decision, or did that was in the moment, or did you sit back and think before you made that decision? Every single person who's listening to this, including us three, will say we made it in that split second and we did it there and then. That's what every single person who falls off track does in that moment. So, say you've had a hard day at work and you've not got your meal prepped. You've been working a 12-hour day. You're driving home and your brain's going, just go to McDonald's. Just go to McDonald's. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Yeah? And then you end up going to McDonald's because you make that split decision and you're not able to regulate your emotions. And you might think, well, that's not a highly stressed period. And it probably isn't. You're correct, right? So think about that, what you're saying. That isn't a high stress period. So why are you making an emotional decision in that non-high stress environment? Plus, like, you might be thinking that, well, when you really truly experience hunger, that's when you will be able to learn to deal with your emotions. Yeah, because we the way that we advise people is to use a timer, literally, for 60 seconds, where you literally set yourself a timer for 60 seconds and you ask yourself 3 questions. What emotion am I feeling at the moment? What has just happened that's driving this emotion and causing me to feel this emotion? And then what is this emotion making me want to do? So ask yourself them 3 questions, set yourself a 60-second timer, and deep breathe throughout the 60 seconds whilst asking yourself them 3. Then ask yourself, do I really want to make this action that I'm about to make? And if you are working towards a goal, that'll help you regulate your emotional control. It'll help you regulate your emotions. And if the problem is that people don't use that enough. They think, oh no, how can that help? Trust me, if you are the type of person who falls off track and you unable to deal with stressful situations, you have this all or nothing mindset, then you've got to use that timer to actually help regulate yourself. Because the more in control of your emotions you get in stressful periods, when you're not under stress, everything's easy. Yeah. So that is a big one that's probably the most important and that causes people to fall off track.
Yeah, the only bit I can add on to that, what Nath just said, is like a lot of people look for instant gratification opposed to delayed gratification because it's what makes them feel good there and then. Like eating that chocolate bar, going to McDonald's after a long day at work, obviously it's going to be more enjoyable in that moment. But if your goal is to stay in shape, have more self-respect, build more confidence, impress those people around you, or feel good about yourself, not having that chocolate bar, not having that McDonald's for a 12-week period, like we said at the start of this video, is going to benefit you more. So it's about being more rational opposed to irrational, sitting back and thinking, why am I even thinking that I shouldn't be having this chocolate bar before you have it, and then realizing it's because I want to feel good in 12 weeks' time, not because I want to feel good right now. So trying to think about that delayed gratification, not the instant gratification, is the best point I can give when it comes to regulating your emotions.
And the last one is people's perceived lack of time. Yeah?
Yeah, so this is a funny one for me. A lot of people will say, I don't have time to train, I don't have time to meal prep. And in all honesty, it's because you really don't want to. If you really, really want to do something, you will make time. You know, there's 24 hours in a day, and there's a lot of social media influencers who I've seen that one guy was like, he splits his day up into like three days. Have you seen that one? And you're like, listen, we don't want to go too daft with it. But ultimately, in my opinion, if you're struggling for that hour, the best time is just literally get up an hour earlier. Yeah, the comfortable decision to, to make is to have that extra hour in bed. But if you're somebody who doesn't like training after work because the gym's busy, it's you can't get on the machines for whatever. Just literally get up an hour earlier. There's hardly anybody in the gym. You'll feel brilliant about yourself for the rest of the day because you've done something good. So if you really want to make it happen, you can make the time for yourself. And then also for me, it's a big part where people fall down, where the diet, we've mentioned it before, is actually prepping the meals. So they might go into work on a Tuesday, they've got a really busy day, and they're thinking, what am I going to eat? They go to Tesco and they pick up maybe a poor meal choice. If you designate time to meal prep, so if on a Sunday, I've got a couple of hours spare here, you can literally get a week's worth of food prepped in an hour, an hour and a half. So, in my opinion, when people use lack of time as an excuse, it's because they actually don't really want to achieve the goal as much as they think they do.
With time, though, as well, I do kind of understand to a certain degree, but I think it's people's perception about how much you have to do to get in shape. People think I've not got the time because they think you need to train every day, twice a day, do so much, and you really don't. You just need to do the basics correct. Literally, I have clients who train maximum 3 times a week, and they still get in shape. It's not time that's your enemy. It's actually your ability to utilize the time that you've got that's your enemy, and your perception around how much time you need to sacrifice to get in shape. Yeah, of course, there's got to be sacrifices. Of course, you're going to have to sacrifice some time. Of course, you're going to have to dedicate more time than you're dedicating at the moment. But it's probably not as much as you actually think. And in my opinion, when you start doing these things, you actually generate more time because you become more of an efficient human being, should we say. So that's everything on the 5 reasons why people fall off the diet. We'll be going into another one on 5 key points to actually help people stay on the diet. So tune in for the next one.